Miles to everyone. Welcome to today's session, class 8th, data handling. We have already learned about data handling in our previous classes, so that means we are familiar with this term. So let's see what new we have about this topic in today's session. So let's start with introduction. Introduction to data handling. Data handling means to collect and represent the data so that it could be used in further studies and to find some results. So for this, first of all, we need to understand what is the data. Data. A set of information collected in the form of numerical fact is called a set of data. It may be a collection of numbers, figures, words, or symbols. Now come to organizing data. Any data which is available in the unorganized form is called raw data. This raw data is arranged or grouped in a systematic manner to make it meaningful, which is called presentation of data. The term related to data organizing. First is frequency. What is a frequency? Frequency tells us the number of times a particular quantity repeats itself. The second is frequency distribution table. Frequency can be represented by the frequency distribution table. Here we have a frequency distribution table which is representing frequency of colors in a bag of Skittles. Frequency can also be shown by the telemarks. A cut over 4 lines represent the number 5. Grouping the data. If we have a large number of quantities, then we need to group the observation and then make the table. Such a table is called grouped frequency distribution table. Some important terms related to grouped frequency distribution table. First is class interval or class. When all the observations are classified in several groups according to their size, then these groups are called class intervals. Second is lower class limit. The lowest number in every class interval is known as its lower class limit, and the highest number in every class interval is known as its upper class limit. Width or size or magnitude of the class interval. The difference between the upper class limit and the lower class limit is called the size of the class interval. Here we have a grouped frequency distribution table. Here we have 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50, 50 to 60, 60 to 70 and 70 to 80. These are the class intervals or class. If we take any one of these class interval, like if we take 20 to 30, then in this class interval 20 is the lower class limit and 30 is the upper class limit. If we take another class like 60 to 70, in this class 60 is the lower class limit and the 70 is the upper class limit. How to find the width or size of the class interval? If we find the difference, the upper class limit and lower class limit, that means if we take 20 and 30 class and if we subtract 30 and 20, so that means we get 10. So that means the size of this class is 10. Okay, now come to graphical representation of data. The grouped data can be represented graphically for its clear picture, and it is the easiest way to understand the data. So we have different type of graphs like pictograph, bar graphs, double bar graphs, histogram, circle graph, or pie chart. In these 5 graphs, first 3, that means pictograph, bar graph and double bar graph, we have already learnt about them in our previous classes. In class 8th we will learn about histogram and pie chart, but we will take the quick review of all the graphs. Start with pictograph. What is a pictograph? When we represent the data through pictures or symbols, then it is called pictograph. Bar graph. In the bar graph, the information represented by the bars of the same width with equal gaps, but the height of the bars represent the respective values. Double bar graph. To compare some data, we can use the double bar graph as it shows the information of two quantities simultaneously. Histogram. Basically, the bar graph of grouped frequency distribution or continuous class interval is called histogram. The class intervals are shown on the horizontal line and the frequency of the class interval is shown as the height of the bars. There is no gap between each bar. Here we have a histogram. Here we have 0 and directly from 800, then 810, 820, 830 and so on. So here is a big gap between 0 and 100. So for removing this gap, we use a sign, we call it a king. A zigzag sign we are seeing here, it is called a king sign, which is used for removing the gap between two intervals. Now, circle graph or pie chart. If we represent the data in circle form, then it is said to be a pie chart. This graph shows the relationship between the whole and its part. We have to divide the circle into sector, and each sector is proportional to its respective activity. So I hope you enjoyed the video and understood all the concept very well. See you in next video. Till then, stay safe, stay happy, be inquisitive, miles to go.